One second. Good morning, Leif Edvinsson. I'm so happy to have you as my guest today. First of all, this is a lot of fun because this is Tel Aviv calling Sweden. What city are you in, Leif? Help us.
I'm in Stockholm, Sweden,
You're in
at
Stockholm.
the center of Stockholm, but actually next to the Royal Park.
Wow.
And it's called the Royal Harbor of Stockholm. So it's a good place for harboring ideas.
That's very exciting. Before we start, I'd like you to introduce yourself so that it's done in the most accurate way.
I would probably say that it is a moving target. So when you are going to take some aspects of your life, I think one of the highlights was when I was awarded Brain of the Year from the Brain Trust in UK. And they were actually basing this awarding and selecting based on data from the intelligence forces of UK.
Wow.
So it was not only an academical dimension, but 2 weeks ago, I got a note from academia, which is doing citation index on a global scale from Oxford and onwards around the world.
Congratulations.
Thank you, that they put up the number there, and I came out as number 2 in the world.
Oh my God.
Yes. And then my grandson said, in the world.
In the world. So would you like to share with our viewers, what is it that makes you number 2 in the world? What do you do?
Good questions. Good questions from the surrounding community. So if you ask me good questions, it's adding to the weave of intellectual capital. The number that I was going to give you was that they found out that I have been cited roughly 14,000 times. And that is quite interesting. So I've been able to share my thinking with at least 14,000 people. And if you multiply that with a reading community of at least 5, then you have reached out with some of your thinking.
Amazing.
So that is a little bit of my background. I'm an economist, and I'm curious. And I'm just after this meeting, I'm going to have a meeting with the Karolinska Institute about the future of life science.
Very interesting.
So from economy to life science, and my name is in some countries, in some regions called Leif instead of Leif, but it both works.
Leif, how are you connected to intellectual capital, intellectual property, and innovation?
It started with a frustration when I was working here in Sweden in the financial sector, because they didn't recognize the value of the intangibles. And we will probably come back to that shortly. But it started with that frustration. So I went to a bank and started to do some prototyping of new credit analysis based on intangibles. And it was then linked to my earlier work with the UK on doing new innovations and searching for new opportunities to create job for people and social benefits. And I've always been interested in the borderline between business and society. So I formed New Club of Paris with some friends, where the agenda is actually agenda setting for societal innovation.
Agenda setting. Interesting. It will bring us to our next, it will bring us to the next question. Let's see what agenda you have there. You think there is in municipalities, so.
Well, the municipality is actually a community, and as you probably recall, Eleanor Ostrom got her Nobel Prize for working with the economics or value adding in communities. And now it's coming up And the most recent digital phrasing of it, such communities, is DAO. And you can look it up. DAO, there is old historical DAOs, and now there are also new ones. But basically, it's digital autonomous organizations.
Mm.
So if you take the payment card Visa, it's a DAO. Initially, it was a DAO, then it was hijacked by some financial thinking, so it lost that kind of spirit. But DAO is a freewheeling, healthy garden of thinking and people.
So you think that a municipality should be that? A DAO?
Yes, definitely. But most of the time it is limited by regulations and order, etc. And then you lose the beauty of the garden. So think about Monet's garden in Paris. It's not very many legal requirements for that garden.
The flowers are free to do as they wish, as they please.
Yes. Very good point.
How do you think we can help to ignite thinking? Look how careful I am. I don't even talk about helping municipalities directly, but how could we help on this global forum that we have here of innovation within the municipality regarding the workers, the staff? How could we help ignite thinking to make them in those areas time-wise and space-wise within the municipality that is not guarded or directed by regulations? How would you make them more innovative, more enthusiastic, and more creators of IC?
I will tell you about my learning related to this. It was when I was a student in Berkeley, California. The pedagogics there was that you should not respond directly to the question from the professor. You should take the question and turn it upside down and stretch it and see what's behind it. And that mind cultivation actually cultivated my thinking. So I learned a lot in Berkeley, but most of all, I learned to think.
Yeah.
And you can ask that question in any municipality. Where do you learn to think?
It's a good one.
And the thinking is actually mind weaving, where you weave the minds with others to cultivate what you haven't thought about. So you get the moment of aha. And if it's joyful enough, it comes to a ha-ha.
I agree. It has to be joyful and fun.
Yeah, so you have to go from aha to ha-ha.
What kind of activities, if we can think together, could help such things? Would you say more inside meetings within smaller groups of departments, or would you say that it has to come, let's say, from the mayor? Or does it have to come from a ha-ha captain, which is the mayor of a city, or does it have to come from aha heads of departments? How do you vision it to make it from theory into, deeds?
I usually apply the thinking of navigation, and that's why the captain has to have a navigator for going with the ship. Otherwise, you are failing on the course. So it's actually the crew surrounding the captain that helps the captain to get forward. And if they are not quick enough, the tide will take them. And the tide is based on the rotation of the earth and the speed of the rotation of the earth. Do you know how quickly that is?
How quick?
Yeah, how quickly is the movement of the earth rotating
how quick
around its
is it?
axis? 1,600 kilometers per hour. And if you try that in Israel, you get a speed ticket.
And take away gravity, and we would have a great roller coaster 24 hours a day.
Yes, yes, exactly. And that is the haha. And the municipality is losing that kind of rhythm with the surrounding world due to the gardening instead of the cultivation and navigation.
Could you translate it for municipality people that will be listening?
Yeah, the cultivation is about how you get it to grow, which you were using the word ignite, and I like that very much. Ignite is extremely important, but you also need to cultivate it so it starts really to bloom. And there you put in the gardeners. So you cut the trees, and at COP26 right now, they have decided not to cut so many trees, which is an illustration of increasing thinking of an ecological dimension. But the cultivation is extremely important in enterprises as well as municipalities.
Yes.
And the municipalities coming from community. So you have this park of knowledge together. And how do you cultivate it? Well, you lock it up in IPR. So it's not freely shared anymore. That's why you form Creative Commons, for example, to share it more easily. It's also that you organize knowledge cafes instead of gardened banks of knowledge or offices. So therefore, we can do a lot on the organizational level as offices, but also on societal level with Creative Commons and DAOs.
You know what I would like to share with you, from my point of view as an intellectual property lawyer, when I was busy with my pilot in one of the Israeli cities, Givatayim, to see how we can find the IP within a department. It is the education department. At first, obviously, people thought I was, a Martian. And then slowly, while interviewing each one of the staff members, one was in charge of, let's say, the psychology services and psychological services, and one was in charge of the youth, and one was in charge of the administrative services. And slowly but surely, we found that there are assets that were built by them within their departments with their staffs. And from my point of view, and I want to know how we can meet, you think that when tagging it by IP and not making it open source, it might stop and it might suffocate the sharing, the innovation. And I came to them from another point of view, and I'd like to share with you that they liked it. I told the people within the city, I told them the following. When we just wanted to go ahead, and we spoke with the legal advisor of the city, and then we spoke also with the team manager and the head of the education department, we said as follows: there's nothing wrong in allowing workers to feel that they have contributed real assets for the city. There's nothing wrong with the city wanting to enjoy its assets, let's say from a global kind of forum like we're just building here. Imagine that one city would sell a software that they made for its digital libraries to another city, and the other one would sell activities for disabled people, etc., etc. And there's no reason why not to enjoy income from that as well, as long, obviously, that it's fair prices. And every time that such a sale goes by, the workers, the staff that actually took part in building these assets, their names will always be there, which means it builds them a kind of electronic ID that they can take with them to the next place. When you Google them, then you find out that, let's say, Mr. Joe Smith of Youngtown, Connecticut, whatever, took part of this and this software that is now being sold to all of the garbage departments and all of this. So how does that, in your opinion, how do we balance it between suffocating it and between making it open source?
Let me start by saying roughly 2 weeks ago, the British government just launched an accounting rule for this, that it should be in the books sorry, of the municipalities.
Yes.
So the new accounting system of UK is appreciating the hidden value in municipalities.
Bravo.
Yeah, bravo. And we did that 30 years ago in Sweden.
Wow.
So we started a program on hidden values in the public sector and which ones of those could we export, or as you said, sell or share with other countries. And there is a lot today.
Yes.
Because the innovation, which you asked about earlier, needs public funding.
Yes.
But it's not the public funding per se, it's the collective funding that is important. And then you can acknowledge the ownership and the contribution to that by various social media systems of today. But you can also get new revenues for the municipality. So if you apply the new accounting system from UK, which is still in refinement, but it's related to the ISO standard of innovation and the ISO standard of knowledge sharing and knowledge management. If you apply that new accounting system and take your questions to your municipalities, if you put a value on that,
yeah,
and put it into the accounting system, then you have to put it into the balance sheet.
I agree.
And if you do put it into the balance sheet because of a law called IAS 38, International Accounting Standard 38, which was based on my work many years ago. So now that ISA 38 applied in many countries leads to that you have a positive item in the balance sheet. And as a consequence of that positive one, you actually get a profit dimension in the balance sheet.
I agree.
And that is remarkably interesting. Instead of talking about we don't have resources, we are broken, we are running with a deficit, well, start to put up the values you have created.
You're a source for resources. That's the truth.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know, I want to share
there
with you, because you said England, that when I was investigating before it kept me busy, this whole thing of why municipalities can't make more assets and create them and use the people, etc. So I found online, obviously, that some years ago, London, the city, sold data and programs and plans that they had of their public transportation system that, as we know, is one of the most advanced and giant in the world. And they sold that for a few millions of pounds to some, high-tech company. And I said, here's my proof of concept.
Yeah.
It can work. It can actually bring real money to a municipality. And otherwise, it would just be lying there, without, it's like, the difference between having money in the bank, and it just can give you maybe a small interest, and the difference between using it for investments so.
And there you have 2 points. Number one, proof of the pudding is the museum from Louvre in Abu Dhabi.
Oh.
So the Louvre was exporting the hidden values of the Louvre to Abu Dhabi, and they started based on the import of knowledge from France, the new Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi. And of course, it cultivated the balance sheet both in Abu Dhabi as well as in Paris.
Amazing.
So they started an agency in France for export of hidden values or soft assets or items of intangible value. And the other one is that you have to have somebody who is doing this cultivation, like in the garden. So you need a navigator in the municipality to navigate the evolution of the intangibles. And the third one is you need to upgrade or update the accounting system so you appreciate it. And the fourth one is that you have to acknowledge the people who is doing it.
Yes. You have to acknowledge. I agree with you, because I think that acknowledgement is the answer for happiness for a worker. In addition to his salary at the end of the month, there's nothing like a tap on your shoulder. Hey, you did a really good job on that. We really love it.
Yeah.
And why don't you go online and you can see that we registered your name on that program. And I'm very proud to tell you that in the pilot that we did, I asked each one of the managers of the departments, and they were so happy to do that. They're good people, to list the names of all down, the pyramid of the organization, who are the workers that actually contributed to different projects. And so, yeah, that always made me happy to get a good word from someone. And it's so easy to give also. And it doesn't cost the municipality any money to give a good word.
No. And furthermore, if you turn it around, which I learned in Berkeley, turn it around, look for new angles to it. If you don't do that, you are running the organization with a knowledge deficit.
Oh. Because people don't want to share.
And that is a liability, both to the organization, but also to the next generation.
I agree. I definitely agree. Wow, thank you so much for sharing. I'd like to tell our viewers that we're very honored that Leif agreed to be on our advisory board, and we are going to use his brain resources for a long time and as much as possible.
I lost my hair.
So I really appreciate that you gave us from your time, and I hope to see you here soon. And if anyone viewing or listening, if any one of you has any questions for Leif, please make contact with us and we will be more than happy to connect you to him. And if these are good questions, I think Leif will be happy to hear them.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So I wish you a happy future with your new mindset.
Thank you so much. See you soon.